Welcome back to another boss review. This time we're looking at Guard Armor, the first real boss fight of Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix. This is the first boss fight with Donald and Goofy. While they're usually regarded as useless, they do have some quirks in this particular fight. They begin the fight stacked with recovery items for one, which they'll use on anyone in critical health. The visual design is pretty on point. A floating disjointed suit of armor does make for an intimidating foe. The introduction is definitely lacking compared to Darkseid's, in both score and pacing. It just drops from the sky and arranges itself, a far cry from the game of light and shadows used to introduce Darkseid. This boss is a lot tougher than Darkseid, but his movements are generally slow and clunky, allowing you to keep a safe distance while learning his pattern. It can separate its limbs from the rest of its body, allowing it to desync its main body from the rest. When this happens, the separated limbs become extremely dangerous, and should require your full focus since they can come from off-screen too. Parrying its attacks grant 2 tech points and leaves it wide open for some time. This is generally not needed when the limbs aren't decent. Parrying does become necessary when it separates though, as most of its attacks become aggressively quick and homing. This is what I meant when I said Donald and Goofy had some utility in this fight. Goofy can block attacks by himself, and additionally, if the desynced limbs' attacks collide into their hurt box, they will stop, even if Donald and Goofy are already knocked out. When all limbs are destroyed, God Armor will progress on to its final phase. This is basically his only attack. If you don't have the guard ability yet, like myself, you will be forced to parry it. Compared to Darkseid, the difficulty spike is enormous. This boss can be challenging even to more experienced players, although it gets exponentially easier if you grind for the guard ability. It's a pretty well made boss, all things considered. It makes good use of the parrying mechanic for tech points, has a cool gimmick, and for the first world boss, has pretty on point difficulty. My personal gripes against this boss are that I hoped it would revolve more around teammates. It's the very first fight with Donald and Goofy, and aside from what I already pointed out, they end up being somewhat inconsequential besides sheer luck. I personally would have made the desynced limbs take priority in attacking Donald and Goofy, although then the main body would also have to be more dangerous. All things considered, it's a well-made first real boss, with fitting music and an open arena. I'm comfortable giving it an 8 out of 10.